Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? Please give me a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear me loud and clear. Let me know that you can hear me. Hello, hello, hello. Test 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. Okay. So let me see in the chat. Let me get my stuff going on. Okay. So, good morning, afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to me, wherever you're listening to me. Welcome to a wonderful, fantastic, amazing webinar. This is amortization table, okay? Amortization table. So, listen. What I'm going to tell you is this. If you are in any state other than... So I'm going to tell you this. Any state other than New York and California, you probably potentially could have this on your exam, okay? So the amortization table is something, like I said, it is something that you will not see in California, you will not see in New York, 1,000%. Some other states may or may not see it. I know this is prevalent on the PSI exam, so if you're taking your PSI exam, I'm like 98% sure you are going to have at least 2 amortization table questions. And a lot of people always ask me how to do these. So every couple of months I throw this out there and I do a little amortization table. So I wanted to just kind of give that PSA, that public service announcement about where you may or may not see this and how this is going to be relevant so that you could appropriately figure out if this is going to be relevant information to you. Because I like telling you that. I think that's important to know. So, couple housekeeping things about amortization. So, first and foremost, today we are just doing the amortization table. So Brandy said this is my 4th test with the national. I've seen the amortization 2 times. So Brandy, tell me what state you're from, because that would also help me too. If you're like a PSI state, that would make total sense. So what I will tell you is this. First and foremost, a couple things, and also congrats to Conrad. I see Conrad coming in, jumping in, saying that they passed their exam. Congratulations. What I will tell you is this, okay? First and foremost, click that like button for me if you're watching now, live or on recording, okay? Brandy said Ohio PSI. Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah, like I said, that is definitely 1,000% makes sense. So let's move on from that, though. Let's talk about a couple of good housekeeping things, because I like to remind you a couple of things about the amortization table, okay? First and foremost, when it comes to the amortization table, what I want you to remember is this. When you are at the testing center, or you're taking your test remotely, if you're in a state that takes it remotely, okay, that offers that option, and I don't recommend that if you're thinking that, okay? So that's definitely something, like I said, if your state offers it, I haven't heard any good things about it. So what I will tell you is this, okay? First and foremost, okay, if you are at the testing center, what I always tell my students is this, 100%, okay? I want you to ask politely, when it's appropriate, where the amortization table is. Again, 1,000% going to see this on PSI tests. Pearson VUE, hit or miss. California and New York, you were definitely not seeing this. So what else was I going to say? As far as that's concerned, as I said, what I would tell you is 100% I want you asking the testing center, okay? I want you to ask the testing center where the amortization table is located. It's usually within the cubicle, okay? It's usually within the cubicle, okay? It's usually pretty easy to find. However, every testing center is different. So it does not hurt to ask where this is, okay? Because also, too, what happens is you have to understand, queening people are come into the testing center. It's something that it happens a lot where they move some things around. So I want you to know, okay? I want you to know 110%, okay, what the story is in regards to where that is located, because that's something simple that a lot of you don't ask and a lot of you don't know, okay? So you definitely 100% want to do that. Also, keep this in mind. If you are watching with me live or on recording, whatever the case may be, I go at the pace that I go at with this stuff, especially with math, okay? I take my time through a lot of this stuff because what happens is, again, it's going to be something that it might be something that it takes a little more time for some of you to get going on this, to get some things. So if I'm going at a pace that you feel like is a little too slow for you, okay? What I will tell you is this. It's a situation where there might be some people that are still trying to get it. So what I always tell people is 100% bear with me, because I'm trying to be cognizant of everyone who's watching. And also, too, again, I always give the PSA of, if this is not clicking for you, okay? If this is not clicking for you, then I would tell you to keep going. This is two questions on the exam max, but I do like to do this. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the amortization table, okay? So first and foremost, this is what an amortization table looks like, okay? So first and foremost, what I want you to tell me is this, and I'll zoom out just a smidge so you can see the whole thing. Don't worry about the questions that I have on the side just yet. We'll get through those. We'll talk about those, okay? First and foremost, what I want to ask you is, what is an amortization table actually showing you, okay? What is an amortization table actually showing you? What are these numbers, okay, right here in the middle? What are those? Why don't you tell me? Type in the chat if you're here with me live. Why don't you tell me what is the situation here? What are all these numbers in the middle? So James said rates. So here's the thing. This is what it is. This is, okay, I'm going to get out my handy dandy pen and let me just get to a decent thickness level so we can see. Okay, bear with me 2 seconds. Okay. Now, what this is it's not going to be rates, because the rates are right here on the left-hand side. Okay? So the rates are right here. All right down this line. Now, what happens is this. Right across here is the term of the loan. Okay? So watch this. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what this is. So, Jane said it is the principal and interest payments over a period of time for the loan. Yeah, I like this one, okay? I like that answer. And guess what? I'm also going to tell you this. It's right here. The answer to the question of what these numbers are is right there, okay? It is a situation where it is going to be the monthly payments per $1,000 of a mortgage, okay? The monthly payments per $1,000 of a mortgage. So, if you had a $1,000 mortgage loan, okay, this would be your monthly payments for principal and interest for the life of the loan, depending on how long it is, okay? So, couple things to keep in mind, okay? When they're asking you a question, when they're asking you a question that has an amortization table and they give you the month, they give you the interest rate, and they give you the term, okay? What happens is this: you do not need the term of the loan, which is how many years it is, or what the interest rate is after you find the number in the middle, okay? After you find the number in the middle, okay? That's the situation there. So if you have a $1,000 loan, this would be your monthly payments. Now, let me give you an example. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, okay, just so that it's a little easier for you to see. And I'll explain a couple of my Post-it notes, and we'll ask some questions, and you'll get into what type of questions you will typically see on the exam, okay? So the first thing is this, because there's only 2 questions they could ask you. There's only 2 ways to work a amortization table. They could either ask you to find the monthly payments, okay? They could either ask you to find the monthly payments, or they could ask you to find out the loan amount. That's it. There's only 2 questions they could possibly ask you. And so once you know what the question is asking you, then you can figure out exactly what you need to do. So here's the situation. If we had a buyer who was approved for a 20-year at 3%, okay, that number we would just go bup, 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 and we would go bup, 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 and we would find 5.54598 that I've put on this nice big Post-it note right here because I want to make it easy for you to see. That's why it's on the Post-it note, okay, because I know that sometimes the amortization table is a little small for some of you. So I want you to make it nice and big and easy. So that's the number that I'm going to be referencing for basically the rest of the session, okay? So once you find that, it's just like, this is like a multiplication table, okay? If I said to you, what is 9 times 8? You would go to, let's say you were a child, you were using a multiplication table. You said, hey, what's 9 times 8? You would go to the 9, you would go to the 8, you would and you would find the number right there in the middle. So would you use 9 and 8 again? No, they are not going to come into play in the question at all whatsoever once you have that number in the middle. So for a $1,000 mortgage at 20 years at 3%, okay, it is going to be, okay, it is going to be $5.54598 per month, okay? So that is basically the gist of the basis of the amortization table. So before I go any further into the questions, does anyone have any questions on that? And does anyone have any questions on basically, like I said, the premise of what you're looking at when you see an amortization table? Any questions? Give me a big thumbs up if you're getting this, okay? Give me a big thumbs up if you're getting this. So yeah, the 3% that's a decimal point. That's the rate on the left-hand side is the interest rate. So 3% is just a number I pick. It was just the number I picked because it was bolded, and I've done the math with that number before, and that seems like, a decent number to pick. I could have picked anything here, but that one was kind of like right smack dab in the middle. It was easy to see, easy to locate. That's just why I picked it. Okay, so a lot of people are getting it. Okay, great. Now, so someone said, what if a table's not provided? Well, then they wouldn't ask you to reference an amortization table, okay? They wouldn't ask you to reference it. So if they're going to use an amortization table, they're going to even say in the question, okay? They're even going to say in the question, okay, please reference the amortization table. Again, this is not on every exam. I know it's definitely not in California and New York, for those of you who are asking. It is going to potentially be on Pearson VUE and PSI, highly likely on PSI test. Okay, so What happens is this. If someone said, is 3% converted to a decimal? No need. It's just simply, so the 3% and the 20-year, we are simply using this, okay? We are simply using this to find the number in the middle, okay? It is just being used to find the number in the middle, which is 5.54598. Now we get to the question point, and I'm going to make this really silly simple, and hopefully you'll understand it, okay? So, if 5.54598 is the amount that we would be paying for a $1,000 mortgage, what would be our loan amount? How would we find out not the loan amount, the monthly payments for a $2,000 mortgage? Let's say a buyer was approved for a 20-year at 3%. So we're using that 5.54598 number. And we said it is now a $2,000 mortgage. What arithmetic? What would we do? What would we do? Type that into the chat for me, please. Okay? And I'm glad to see that there's a lot of thumbs up. I'd rather see the thumbs up than the exploding heads because that means that at least I got most of you. I got most of you with me. Okay? So that's why I hope you don't mind. And please, and something that I will tell you is this. Again, and I reiterate it when I'm doing the math, I go at a certain pace that I try to be repetitive. I try to keep it nice and simple because that's the key. That's the secret sauce to this, okay? That's the secret sauce to making this stick, okay? It's not really doing question after question after question. It's about getting an understanding of how the mechanics of this work so that you could apply this to question yourself, okay? So, hey, Julie said we multiply by 2. Yeah, because here's the thing. Multiply it by 2. Why, Stu? Why would we multiply it by 2? Well, the question that I was asking you was, how much would the monthly payments be for a $2,000 mortgage? So what we would do is we would multiply 5.54598 by 2 because we have two 1,000s, okay? Now let me make it a little more complicated. What if we had a $5,000 mortgage? Oof. I have a $5,000 mortgage. What would we do to find out the monthly payments per $1,000, the monthly payments based off of a 20-year at 3%, okay? So, Midori said, the table's only showing for 1,000. Right, so what we'd have to do is we'd have to multiply it by 5. Absolutely. So for a $5,000 mortgage, we would multiply by 5. Let's make it a little more complicated. A $15,000 mortgage. What would we do with a $15,000 mortgage? Okay, if we were approved for a 20-year at 3%, $15,000 mortgage. Let's not make our heads explode too early in the webinar, okay? Multiply by 15, yeah. Hey now. Now let's get to a number that's more realistic as far as something that we might see as a loan amount. What about $115,000? $115,000 loan. What would we do in regards to, okay, in regards to a $115,000 loan? How would we do that math? Okay. Yeah, Nelly, you see what I'm doing. Yeah, here's the thing. We start really nice and small, and then we go up to those bigger ones because you understand the mechanics of it. You multiply it by 115,000. Hey, I'm going to give you another one. You ready? What if we did the monthly payments for a $375,000 loan? Okay, what about for a $375,000 loan? Because, hey, that's the one that I have in the upper right-hand corner, I think, right? What would my monthly payments be for the $375,000 loan? What would we multiply the 5.54598 by? We would multiply it by 375. not 375,000. Don't let it trick you. 375, because that's how many 1,000s are in there, right? Now, if it was let me just show you this, okay? If it was a $345,500 loan, okay, right? What happens is this. So, Stu, that's not an easy one where there's all zeros at the end, right? We've just been lopping off the zeros, okay? Well, what you would do is you would just divide. All we're doing is really dividing it by 1,000, okay? So what you would do is you would take 5.54598 and then multiply it by 345.5. How's that look? So a lot of you are saying, hey, light bulb's going off, okay? So what I'm going to tell you is this. You now know, okay? So here's the thing. Give me a thumbs up, okay? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're getting this, okay? If this part of it, this math, you're like, I got this down. I totally see how you explained it, what the story is, and you kept it nice and simple, okay? So, and trust me, if you didn't get it, okay, it's okay. It's all right. You know, rewatch it, take a look at it again. I do. That's why we spent, a good 15 minutes on just this one, okay, on just this one. So that's why I want to make sure that you get this as much as possible, okay? So now, no matter what, someone said I can't find my thumb up, but I got it. I love it. So, what I want to tell you is this. Bottom line is I want to at least make sure, basically that you have the basis of it. So, someone said the last one threw me off where I did the 345,500. Well, think about it. If it was a $345,000 loan, okay, if it was a $345,000 loan, just as we've been doing, as we upped it, we would said, okay, a $2,000 loan would be multiplied by 2, 5,000 multiplied by 5, 10,000 multiplied by 10, okay? And what happens is this. If it was a $345,500 loan, basically what we're doing is I showed you what we're doing simply in our head, where you were able to kind of like the arithmetic that you skipped when you told me, oh, you just multiplied by 2, is you're actually taking the 2,000 and dividing it by 1,000. You're taking each of the numbers and dividing by 1,000, okay? So that's actually the math that you're doing that we're just skipping in our head, that we're just kind of computing and seeing it because you see that relationship. So now you know. So I want to just congratulate you first and foremost if you've gotten this far with me. Now you know the one question that they could ask you, which is, how do you find the monthly payments when they give you a loan amount, okay? They give you a loan amount, how to find the monthly payments. Boom. So the situation is this. So someone asked me, am I going to explain amortization? I think that's a good question. I'm going to explain it briefly to you, just so that you have a brief understanding as to what amortization means. Because I realize that that is, like I said, a very valid question. It doesn't have to do with the mechanics of using the table in math questions, but I think it's something for a 2-second break. It's going to be a situation where I think it's going to definitely 100% be relevant for you to at least know, okay? The first thing is going to be this, okay? It's going to be, basically, bottom line is amortization means to slowly pay off, okay? To slowly pay off over time. Because morte is Latin for death, okay? So amortization is basically killing off of a loan, okay? So a fully amortized loan would be one that would be fully paid off at the end of the term. Partially amortized would be one that is partially paid off. There would be a balloon payment at the end. So our amortization chart shows us how we are amortizing, how we are paying off our loan over time with the principal and interest. And those payments stay constant. That's why we use an amortization table, okay? So someone said pay off the debt or pay off the loan. I mean, either one if we're talking about an amortized loan. I mean, those terms are synonymous. The debt is the loan. Like, it's basically that, those would be used. And I think that, something else, I'll just take 2 seconds and just say this. This is just good overall for you to know is in the real estate test, there are going to be words that are very synonymous to one another, where I might use one and Joe might use another and Cynthia might use another. So that's why it's really good to listen to all of us and to get a little idea as to how we're doing how we're doing this. Okay, so that's the situation there. So now the next type of question you could get, and this is a little more tricky, okay? And then we'll look at a word problem that you might see on the exam, okay? So the first one is going to be this. So the next type of question that you could see, they will give you a monthly budget. And I'm going to put another Post-it note here, okay? So bear with me because I want to just get another Post-it note, boop, 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 so that we could do some math working outs over there, okay? So if someone was approved for a loan of 20 years at 3%, because we're going to use that, because, again, I just like that number. It's easy. And they had a monthly budget of $1,850. How much could they afford? So we're answering this question. So we're basically answering the loan amount. How much could we afford? Okay. How much can we afford? What's that going to be like? What is it that we could afford? Okay, what can we afford? So, how do you think we would figure that out if we were approved for a loan of 20 years at 3%, so using the 5.54598, and our monthly budget for principal and interest was $1,850? What do you think? What do you think that would be? What would be our first step in that question to solving it? And I'll give you a hint. We're actually moving backwards from how we figured out, okay, how we figured out what the monthly payment was. So think about it. We're working backwards. So I'm going to show you the first step, okay? And I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to show you the first step. So does anyone know the first step? I'll give you one last shot before I type it out. It's $1,850, which is our monthly budget. And what we're going to do is this. We are going to divide it, okay? We are going to divide it by the monthly payments per $1,000 of a mortgage. And let me explain to you the logic here, why we're doing that, okay? Because what we want to do is we want to figure out how many times I could fit the 5.54598 into the 1,850. How many times does it fit in there? How many times does it fit in there? And let's get out our calculators. Let's get out our calculators, please. And let's calculate this, okay? Let's figure this out, okay? So 1,850 divided by 5.54598, okay? That's going to be 333.58. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to round it off to just 333, okay? Yes, our calculators. That's the technical name for them, okay? So if you want to make fun of me. You have to have a little fun with math. I mean, this is torturous as it is. Geez, we got to be able to make fun of the calculators a little bit. Yeah, so some people said, hey, I thought it was 3%. So here's the thing. The interest rates, the percentages, the term of the loan, we are not touching that once we know the monthly payment and the number. Okay. So I just lopped off the change. I didn't round it. Okay. I just made it 333 just for even numbers. Okay. So, what I will tell you is this. So now we have 1850. We're dividing it by 5.54598 because what we're trying to do is take our monthly budget and figure out how many times a monthly payment goes into it. So now what do you think our last step is to find out how much of a loan they could afford? What is our last step that we're going to do to find out how much of a loan they could afford? So, the last step that we're going to do is this, okay? We are going to take the 333 and we are going to multiply it by $1,000. Okay? Because what happens is, keep in mind this, okay? The monthly payments for the loan per $1,000 of a loan are going to be 5.54598. So what I'm giving you in this scenario, I'm presenting you with a buyer that could afford, in monthly principal and interest payments, $1,850 a month. They can't go above that. Okay? And they're approved for a 20-year at 3%. So a 20-year loan at 3%, the monthly payments are $5.54598 per month. Okay? So what you do, okay, is this. You take the monthly payment of 5.54598 and you divide it into the budget. Budget is what they could afford, okay? And then that gives you, it fits into it 333 times. Then what we do is we multiply that by 1,000, and what that would give you is they could afford a loan amount of $333,000. Okay? So, in that situation, that is the simplest way to understand it, because it's basically working backwards from what we did earlier in the first half of the webinar. Okay? So, does anyone have any questions? And please, if you're going to ask a question in the chat, I have no problem answering it. I just need a clear, concise idea as far as what you're confused on so that I could potentially answer it. Because if you are confused about something, chances are that there's someone else listening who might be as well. Hence why I'm giving you the chance to ask me the question now or forever hold your peace. And please, also, for my torture sessions like this, hit that like button. Also, for all my past webinars, please hit that like button for us, because that really does help you out. So Tina said, how would I use the pie chart? So if you're referring to the T-bar, you wouldn't. Okay? You wouldn't. How did you come up with 1850? I like the number. That's like asking the authors how they come up. Why are they using 20%? 20 years at 3%. Yeah, you wouldn't use T-bar for this. This is not a T-bar, because this is not a part. So here's the thing. That's the whole thing with using formulas for this, is that they don't fit into every scenario. Okay. So there's not a percentage here, okay? There's not a percentage here that you would be working off of that would be able to relate back to using T-bar. So someone said, since California doesn't have an amortization table, what would questions in regards to amortization tables be? They wouldn't ask you a question as far as anything I'm going over mathematically here, but they might ask you questions about a fully amortized loan and a partially amortized loan. That's really all you could garner from this. So, Now, let's look at a word problem that you may see on the test, and let's work through it, okay? So, let's just delete a couple things here, okay? And I'm going to show you a math problem. So, let's look at this first one, okay? So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the word problem, and we're going to be using that 5.54598, okay? So, a property sold for $375,000, and the buyer took out a loan with an LTV of 80% for 20 years at 3%. If the annual taxes, okay, were $3,200 and the annual insurance premium were $799, how much would their monthly payments be? And we're going to be referring to the PITI, principal, interest, tax, and insurance. So what is our first step? For anyone who's been in any of my math webinars, you know what the first step is. What is the first step? Don't disappoint me now, Stu Crew. Tell me that first step. Because I know someone's been in my math webinars. You know what I like to do. I'm at the point where I've done so many math webinars with all you, and you've watched probably so many recordings, you know what I like to do. You know it. So, first step is, okay, first step is write down what they want. Yeah, write down what the question is asking you. So, it's asking you, what are the monthly PITI payments? Okay, and I write PITI payments because that's what I really intended to say in the question, but I just didn't write that out, okay? So, what do we know? We know that the property sold for $375,000, okay? And we always put what we know, okay? We know that there's a loan of 20 years, okay, at 3%, okay? And now this would be the time that we would go over to our amortization table, and I would tell you at this point to find the monthly payment. So it's 5.54598, okay, per 1,000, okay? And I always like writing that down because it just reminds me what it is. It just, listen, even though I am the guru, I am the guy when it comes to this stuff, I still like writing it down. It helps me, okay? And we know that the annual taxes are $3,200. And we also know that the insurance, annual insurance, okay. Now, what's beautiful about this, writing this all down, guess what? I have every single thing I need to solve for the problem. I don't need to reread the problem, okay? Bottom line is this, okay? It's a situation where 100% you don't need to look at the question again. That is the entire goal of writing this out and doing this, is so that you don't need to look at the problem again, because sometimes those are very confusing. They'll say things like Sally Seller, Bobby Buyer, Happy Times Real Estate, stuff that is just there, not so much to confuse you, but stuff that you don't need, that is irrelevant, okay? So, what is our first step going to be in this one? So, someone said, hey, is that LTV amount important? Okay. This is going to be a situation where, okay, where what I will tell you is this: the LTV amount is super important, because what happens is, in order to find the monthly payments, okay, the monthly payments, we have to know the loan amount, right? So how would we find out the loan amount? Okay, I didn't put in the 80% loan to value here. That was the one thing I'm missing, 80% LTV. Thank you for that. I didn't write that in there. So you see, keeping me honest, you're keeping yourself nice and diligent as far as, you know, what's important here. So yes, the 80% LTV is important. So you see also too, you get to see if you missed anything as you're skimming through the question and you're jotting it down. So first thing that we would do is this. And I'm going to delete all this stuff right now because we're going to go through this step by step, okay? So someone said 80%. Yeah, the question said there's an 80% loan to value. That's how much the loan is in comparison to the value of the property. So the value of the property here would be the $375,000. Okay. You multiply it by 0.80 because that's 80% as a decimal. And we punch that into our calculators multiple times because we have the butterfingers. Even I have the butterfingers. I'm amazing and I have the butterfingers, okay? So that would be 300,000, right? Oh, I put too many zeros in there. See? Then that's a great case of the butterfingers right there. You get, no matter how good you are, you're always going to have situations like that. That's why I tell you, write it down, be careful, put it into the calculators multiple times, okay? And what is that 300,000? What is that? That's a loan amount, right? Now that we know, because we went to the amortization table and we found out there was 5.54598, okay, for the 20 years at 3%. What do we do now since we know the loan amount is 300,000? How do we find out the monthly payments for principal and interest? How do we do that? 5.54598 multiplied by what? Multiplied by what? Multiplied by 300 because that's how many thousands are in 300,000, which is the loan amount. Hey now. Okay? And that would be, let me just do some quick math. 5.54598 times 300. Okay? $1,663 and let's just make it 80 cents just to round it up. Okay? So, that being said, now that is for our principal and interest. Okay? Principal and interest. Are we done? Are we done, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? So, someone asked, how did you get the 300? That's how many thousands are in the 300,000. Okay, 300,000 divided by 1,000. So, we are not done yet. So, what I like to do is this. Now, you might not do it this way, but I like to take my annual numbers and I mush them together. So, I take the annual taxes and I take the annual insurance, okay, to get one annual payment, okay? Because I like doing less math. The less math I need to do, the better, okay? And I think that you all would agree with me on that one. So that would be, okay, that would be $3,999 for the annual, okay, for the annual taxes and insurance, okay, for the annual taxes and insurance, okay. So, let's look at the next step. Next step, we're going to take the $3,999, okay, and then what you're going to do is divide it by, okay, you're going to divide it by 12 because that's how many months you have in a year, right? So whenever it's annual and you need to convert it to a monthly payment, you take the $3,999 and you divide it by 12, right? So, what I will tell you is this: there is no red herrings in this question. I'm giving you 100% exactly what you need, okay? Exactly what you need in this question. I'm making it as straightforward so you understand the mechanics as much as possible, okay? So, that is the monthly payments, okay, for taxes and insurance. So the last thing that we're going to do is add up the principal and interest, add on the taxes and insurance, and this is what we would get. So it will be $1,663.80 plus the $333.25, and that would give you, so let's see, 1,663.8 plus 333.25. It's going to be $1,997.05. Okay? So, let's take a look at that. And we're going to zoom in so that you can see it nice and big. Okay? And I'm going to let you kind of just see the screen for a little bit. And I will take any questions. Okay? Okay? Any questions that you have. So, someone asked me, how do we get from 300,000, okay, to 300? So that is just dividing by 1,000. That's how many thousands they are. That was just like the first portion of our studies, where what we did was we took our monthly payment amount, okay, and then what we did is this. Remember when we said, okay, if we had a $2,000 loan, what would you multiply by? Multiply by 2. If you had a $10,000 loan, what would you multiply by? By 10. Okay, you have a $300,000 loan. What would you multiply by? 300. Okay, that is how you figure out the monthly payments for principal and interest. Where did I get the 5.54598? I got that from going to the amortization table. So instead of going back and forth, okay, so when I saw there was a 20-year at 3%, okay, I took the amount that you got on the chart that we had at the first portion of the exam, which was the 20-year at 3%, okay, the first part of the webinar, okay, and that was the number that we used. So why do we divide by 1,000? Because an amortization shows you the monthly payments per $1,000 of a loan amount. So you have to figure out how many 1,000s are in your loan amount. So in a $2,000 loan, there are 2 1,000s. In a $5,000 loan, there are 5 1,000s. In a $300,000 loan, there's 300 1,000s. Okay? So 300 is representative of how many 1,000s are in the loan amount. So, we didn't know the taxes. Yeah, the taxes were added in with the 3,200. Okay? So, that is the situation there. So, I think that for most of you, what I would tell you is this. If you are still having questions on this, please go on back and take a look at the entire webinar. This will be available for everyone to watch. Again, pause it, rewind it, take a look at what I'm saying when I'm explaining different things, because everything has been explained for amortization table several times, okay? So, what I will tell you is this. Everyone, have a great, wonderful, fantastic, amazing rest of your day, and I will see everyone tomorrow for Facebook Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 p.m. Eastern. Actually, no, scratch that. I'm not going to see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. I forgot that today's Wednesday, so if you're watching me live, I forgot because tomorrow's actually my anniversary. So I got to take Mrs. Stu out for dinner. Okay, so you're going to see Joe tomorrow. Okay, you're going to see Joe tomorrow. Okay, and then you'll see me back on Friday. So that's, and I'm going to be here at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because I don't know. I'm staying over. We're going to spend the night out somewhere nice and just the two of us, and we're going to get away from this, get away from math for a little bit, and I'll make sure that I see everyone again on on Friday. So thank you for the anniversary wishes, and everyone listen, hit that like button, even if whatchamacallit, you don't like math, hit the like button. And remember, when Joe and Cynthia don't ask for anything, okay? When Joe and Cynthia don't ask for it, you still gotta hit that like button for them, okay? So, and again, thank you for the anniversary wishes. Really appreciate it. Everyone's really super amazing. Love working with everyone. And again, thank you very much for sticking with me here. Rewatch this again if you're having trouble with the amortization table. And I will see everyone again live on Friday. Have a great one.